Hey everybody, welcome to video number 13 in the SMA Journey 51 series. Today I thought I would do something maybe a little bit different. I thought about this last night, and this video is probably going to last quite a bit longer than most of my other ones because I want to give you some more background information with regards to myself and the reason why I chose to document my journey if and when I decide to take the Spinraza treatment. You know, we're all under the same questions right now, whether or not insurance is going to pay for it. We're still waiting on injection sites to be determined and for all of our doctors to do what they need to do so that hopefully we can get approved for this treatment. So I wanted to document my journey so that others could watch. I've got family members that live out of state that want to keep up, and so that's the reason why I'm doing this. So I started my YouTube channel, and that was just a good way for me to keep people informed as to what I was going through. So with that in mind, I thought, since I'm doing more than just documenting my journey, I feel like I'm kind of documenting everybody's journey because we're all going to be going through this together. You know, like I said, we're all waiting on the same thing, the injection sites, the approval from insurance. So I would be willing to bet that when I start my treatment, if and when I start my treatment, that's probably going to be about the same time that you start yours as well. So let me share a little bit of information about me. I was born in 1965, and most of you that have watched my first video saw the pictures of me whenever I was standing with braces and crutches. But when I was about, I guess, a little over a year old, my parents noticed that I wasn't standing or I wasn't supporting my weight like I should be at that age. So they took me to the doctor, and the doctor examined me, or at least this is what my parents were telling me. The doctor examined me for 15 minutes and then came back into the room and told my parents, your son has muscular dystrophy and he's not going to make it until he's 2 years old. And then the doctor said, I'm sorry, we can't do anything. Have a good day. Please see the nurse before you leave. And he just turned around and walked out of the room. Now, I don't have children, okay? I was never lucky enough to get married and to have children of my own. I've got a caregiver that lives with me, and she's got a son that's 3.5 years old, and he's probably going to be the closest thing to a son that I'll ever have. And he's one of the greatest kids in the world. Super sweet. And I'll give you a little bit more information about him here in just a moment. But I started thinking about what my parents were going through. What were my parents thinking when that doctor told them that I had muscular dystrophy and that it was a death sentence? I wasn't going to live to see the age of 2. I can only imagine what they went through for that next year. Of course, I don't remember much about it, but my parents told me that that was probably the most difficult 1 year period in their life because they were afraid that they were going to have to watch me suffer and to die, which I don't know any parent that would ever want to do that. But they knew that that was their fate. And so over the course of the year, they were preparing for the worst. And I ended up getting a little bit stronger, which was unheard of, especially with muscular dystrophy. So they took me back to another doctor when I was about 2 years old, about 1.5, 2 years old. And they said, well, let's do a muscle biopsy. So they took muscle from my left foot, leg, and arm, and all of it on the left side of my body. And after they took these samples, they said that they were going to send the samples to a laboratory and they could tell further what I had. Well, for some reason, and we think it was on purpose, the muscle biopsies got lost in transit. And my father was telling me that it was extremely painful for me to have to go through this surgery. The recuperation was difficult for me because, of course, I was a year and a half old. I didn't know what was happening to me. And the doctor called and told my father and my mother that, well, we lost his sample. We don't know where his muscle biopsies went, but if you bring him back in, we'll do the surgery again. And my father and my mother discussed it, and they decided not to put me through that. And I can appreciate that because I say I don't remember it, but I really do because I remember the stitches in my foot. They had to do therapy on my leg to keep it stretched out so the skin wouldn't grow together in a wrong position. So I do remember some of it, but my parents not letting me go through that procedure again showed what kind of parents I had. They truly had love in their heart for me because they didn't want to put me through it again. Um, Over the course of time, I started going to different doctors where I learned how to walk on braces and crutches. I was in Scottish Rite Hospital. Back then it was called Scottish Rite Hospital for Crippled Children. Now it's just called Scottish Rite Hospital. And I remember the walls, I remember the hospital. It had gray walls, gray ceilings. And I remember every day that when I would go for therapy, they would roll me out in the hallway on this gurney, and I would sit there sometimes for, hours waiting on them to come and get me for therapy. And I was in the hospital for a total of 5 weeks. Now, I don't know if any of you knew or know anything about Scottish Rite Hospital, but back then, parents were only allowed to see their children every other Sunday between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that meant if I was in the hospital for 5 weeks, my parents could only see me twice. And my parents came to see me on the first Sunday that they were allowed to do so. And my mother said it was so difficult when they got ready to leave. They said I screamed and cried. And she said I didn't have the heart to go back. She said she couldn't go back and see me, and neither could my father. But my dad did come back and see me for the second visit, but my mother couldn't do it because she didn't want to put me through it. But I did learn how to walk on braces and crutches. And those are the pictures that you saw in my first video. So everything was as close to normal as I guess you could get, having a child that was walking on braces and crutches. And later on, after I saw more doctors, they diagnosed me with myotonia congenita. Now, myotonia congenita is a neuromuscular disease, but in my opinion, it was a dumping pot. You remember back in the 80s and even in the late 90s, all these children were being diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, and all these children were being diagnosed with ADHD, and nobody knew really why. And I think it was, again, doctors really couldn't explain what was happening, so they just lumped everybody together in a melting pot and called it ADHD. And I think that's what myotonia congenita was that I don't think any doctor really knew what I had, so their best guess was myotonia congenita, which to me was a cop-out. I now realize that some of the doctors that I saw back then were basically covering their own ass because they were afraid of a lawsuit if they misdiagnosed, and they didn't want to get my pediatrician in trouble. You know, doctors have a strange way of protecting each other, or at least they did back then. So up until the age when I was 32 years old, I didn't even know what I had. And I was working for Mobil Oil. I had already graduated from college and was doing fine. I was making good money. I had a very successful career. And I was sitting at my desk one day when my phone rang, and it was a nurse at UT Southwestern Medical Center here in Dallas. And they had gotten my records from a hospital by the name of Zell Lipsche. UT Southwestern took over that hospital. And when they got my records, they thought, this sounds like SMA. So they were about ready to do a double-blind study using a drug by the name of Neurontin. And they were going to see what the effects of Neurontin would be on spinal muscular atrophy. So they asked me if I would be interested in coming in and getting tested. It was just a simple blood test, just a genetic test. And at first I said no. I thought, no, I've already lived most of my life. I really don't care. And but I told her, I said, call me back in a week and let me think about it. So a week went by and my parents and I sat down and discussed it. And I thought to myself, before I can understand what I am going through, I need to know what I have. I need a name. I need something that I can wrap my teeth around. And so we discussed it and we decided to go ahead and go along with the study. So I went in about 2 weeks after that and went through the blood test, and I got a call about a week later, and they said that I did test positive for SMA type 3. So since I did that, I went through the double-blind study, and after the blind study, now basically a double-blind study is where you don't know if you're on the actual drug or if you're on the placebo, and even the doctors don't even know if you're on the drug or the placebo. So after the testing went through, everything came back, and sure enough, I was on the drug Neurontin, but I didn't gain any muscle strength. There was really no definitive increase in strength or muscle mass. So, we had hope that maybe it would, but come to find out it didn't. So after the test, I really didn't alter my life. I didn't change the way I lived. I finally knew what I had. Like I said, I could at least say that that was my disease. I wasn't guessing at anything. So again, I led my life the way that I wanted to. I finished my MBA in 2000 and stayed with ExxonMobil until 2005. And I taught college until 2010. And then I ended up retiring because I had to go on permanent disability. But, like I said, my parents really sacrificed a lot. And they always made me feel like there wasn't anything that I couldn't do. They never let me use the excuse of being in a wheelchair to get out of anything, and they never used it as an excuse, and they never let me do it either. And I think that's where I get my attitude and the way that I live my life is that if you tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to do it whether you like it or not, just to prove you wrong. I don't like being told that I can't do something. And I was lucky that my parents were very supportive of me. I was like every other kid in the world. I got in trouble like every kid in my neighborhood. I did stupid things I wasn't supposed to. I got spanked as a kid. I got grounded as a kid. I was just your normal kid. And, yes, I was in a wheelchair. But other than that, I was like everybody else. And they expected me to act, behave, and be treated like everybody else. So I applaud my parents for that. They were good parents. Since then, I've lost both of my parents, but my Christian faith tells me that I'll see them again. I know where they are, and I talk to them every day. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to document this journey, because I always play the game, what if? What if I go through this treatment and I do get the ability to maybe stand up? Or what if I go through this treatment and I regain the use of my arms and my hands? You know, um, Again, this is just something that I really wanted to do. And I like sharing my information with everybody. I think by sharing my information, not only am I helping myself, but I hope and pray that I'm helping other people that are thinking about going through this treatment just like I am. I was talking to you about the 3.5-year-old that lives with me. My caregiver, her name is Jennifer, and she's been with me for 4 years, almost 5 years, and I can't believe it's been that long. And she's a wonderful person. She was helping with me and my father, and then my father passed away last year in October, and so um, actually it was about almost a year and a half ago, and her son is 3.5. He'll be 4 years old here this May. And he is such a special little kid. And I really count my blessings, because even though I don't have any children, uh, like I said earlier, he's about as close to a son as I'll ever get. And he's not shy about wanting to help me. His mom, Jennifer, has to help me eat because I can't lift food up to my mouth. And she's always been great with me. And her son is going to be exactly the same way. Very special heart, just one of the sweetest kids that you ever want to meet. He comes into my room at night, gets up in bed, and he gives me a hug and a kiss. When his mother's feeding me, if she walks away to get something, he'll come over and feed me as well. And I'll have to say he's actually pretty good at it too. And if he's eating something and if I want a bite of it, all I got to do is ask and he'll give it to me. So I'm very lucky in the life that I've had, in the life that I live right now. Now, whether or not this treatment helps me, I pray to God every night that it does. But I also tell God that no matter what happens, my physical strength may diminish, but my spiritual strength will never grow weak. And this is God's will. If God wants me to get better, then so be it. If He wants me to remain the same and live out the rest of my life, then that's what I'm going to do. A lot of people say, oh, don't get too depressed. Don't become suicidal. Everybody's worried about my mental state. And I'm as far from a suicidal person as you can get. That's never even crossed my mind. because I really believe that God put me in this wheelchair for a reason. What the reason is, I have no idea. And hopefully I'll find out someday. Maybe it's to do what I'm doing right now. Maybe it's to just sit here and talk to you guys. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you was the reason why I'm doing this. But I also want to know if you guys want me to continue doing it more on a daily basis. I was only going to do this whenever I got information for myself. When my treatment started, then I would start posting more videos. But by the way it looks, it could be months before I start. So, I enjoy doing these videos. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from a lot of people. And my YouTube channel's growing. I've got more subscribers. I've got more views. So I thought, well, maybe people are interested in what I have to say. And if you are, I really want to hear from you. So let me know if you want me to do 2 or 3 or 4 videos a week, or do you just want to hear from me whenever I start going through my treatment? I love answering questions, because if I've got a question, I'm sure you do too. And if you can think of a question, it's probably one that I've thought of as well. So I kind of not only give this information to you guys to help you, but I do it to help myself as well, because I enjoy doing it. It gives me something to do during the day. I sit back here in the office and I watch TV and I do other stuff on the computer. But doing these videos for you guys and myself not only gives me something to do, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something positive. And if I can put a smile on somebody's face, then to me that's worth it. I've worked with so many people that have been negative all of their life. I worked with people throughout my career that you swore that if they smiled, their face would crack. And they were always trying to manage through intimidation. They always just walked around like something was bothering them all day. And I'm not that way. I'm pretty upbeat. I'm pretty positive in anything that I do, and which I know drives a lot of people crazy. I probably am very annoying to some people because I try to be so positive, but that's me, and I'm not going to change my ways to suit somebody else. Okay? If you don't like my positive attitude, don't watch my videos. But I'm hoping that the majority of you are watching because I do have a positive attitude, and hopefully my positive attitude can give you a reason to smile and to keep going with your day. Because the more information that I receive, the more positive feedback that I get from you guys, the more it really makes me want to continue doing what I'm doing. So like I say in all of my videos, if you like what I have to say, give me a thumbs up, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my YouTube channel, send me an email, or just send me a message down below the videos. Let me know if you want me to continue doing these videos. If you like what I have to say, I can do one a day, and I can just give you an update on my day, and maybe try to bring a smile to your face. I'm not looking to do 20 videos a day. I'm not looking to do, anything stupid. I'm not going to just sit here and ramble. But maybe if I can bring a smile to your face every day or a couple of times a week, then my journey will be a lot better, not only for me, but for you. Okay? So you guys have a great day. I say this every time. I say God bless you. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're an atheist. To me, we all have a reason to live, and we all have a purpose in this life. And hopefully my purpose is to help you as much as I'm trying to help myself. So you guys have a great day. God bless you. And until next time.